Hi, it's Rachel Cooke, your modern mentor. I'm the founder of Lead Above Noise, where we help leaders rethink how the work gets done in ways that teams are able to be really productive and successful, and people are able to feel well and engaged. If your organization or team could use a dose of inspiration and skills and tools to make this happen, reach out today at leadabovenoise.com/connect. Okay, so recently my daughter and I were flipping through some old pictures of when the girls were little. And she asked me, hey, why is it that you let me out of the house in that neon plus tie-dye plus faux fur ensemble? Like, did you hate me? It was a fair question. The fit was indeed brutal, but it had been my salvation all those years ago. At that time, I had a toddler and a baby who I had to get up, get dressed, and get out the door by 7:30 a.m. every day so I could get to work on time. It was a low-key nightmare. The experience was stressful for me, and frankly not so much fun for my toddler, who would get really annoyed waiting for me to finish diapering her sister so I could get her dressed. I was overwhelmed trying to do everything. She was frustrated waiting for me to get to her. And then one morning, she just looked at me and said, "Can I get dressed by myself?" And I stopped because, honestly, that hadn't even occurred to me. I was so stuck in my assumption that, as the mom, this was my job. It just hadn't occurred to me that she could probably do it herself. So I said yes, and a neon tie-dye faux fur situation ensued. But suddenly, setting aside my pride, I could breathe a little easier. And my daughter was happy with the rhythm of the morning. A little bit of the same is playing out in the workplace. Like, not, in my experience anyway, with the colors and the furs so much, but with the one party thinking they have to solve it all and the other party feeling frustrated the solution just isn't coming fast enough. And me wishing more people would just ask, can I do this myself? We're using a 1950s playbook for 2025 problems. The workplace we inherited was built for a different era. Back then, the people at the top knew the most. Like you were the best widget maker, so you became the widget manager, and then eventually you made it to the C-suite. Knowledge sat at the top, and leadership's job was mostly to cascade it down. And that just doesn't work for us anymore. Today, knowledge lives everywhere. Senior leaders can't design and own all the change. They don't have the bandwidth or, frankly, the proximity to see what's broken and where there are opportunities to fix the work. But we're still acting like they do. Employees are waiting for leaders to fix things. Leaders believe they need to fix everything. And both sides are stuck in these outdated roles. The result is that leaders are burning out and employees are waiting for solutions that aren't coming. And nothing moves. But the good news is that the power to improve the work exists at every level now. And we need to stop waiting for permission. We need to just start. If you could change one thing about your work experience right now, what would it be? And more importantly, what is the smallest first step that could move you towards that? Not all the way there, but just in the right direction. And if that step feels still too big, shrink it further until it feels squarely within your locus of control. Most of us underestimate what's actually in our locus. We focus on reasons that we can't, on what's above our pay grade. The strategy we can't influence, the budget we can't touch, the org structure we can't redesign. But inside your locus of control sits real leverage. The friction you experience daily, you see it more clearly than anyone above you. The strategy you don't think you can change, you can certainly offer a point of view or flag a risk. There is almost always something you can do about it. And many times, a tiny risk-free experiment is just the thing to confirm or deny. No permission needed, no budget required. Just a problem you can see or an opportunity you flagged, and one move you can make. So what does this actually look like in practice? In one organization, employees were pretty notably feeling disconnected. They had started working in hybrid and remote ways, and engagement scores were showing it. People felt relationships were transactional and culture was kind of just not there. So a small handful of employees created a shared document where people could post what they needed help with, what expertise they had, what their hobbies were, and then others could browse the doc and reach out to anyone they wanted to connect with. A few connections formed, and it caught on. Over the course of a few months, more people added themselves to this shared document. People organically started posting when they would next be in the office so that others could coordinate the same days, and engagement slowly started to climb. Nobody asked for permission. They saw isolation and an easy opportunity. No budget, no approval, just a shared doc and an idea. In another company, a manager was frustrated that his team of 3 was wanting more career advancement. And he wanted to support them, but he couldn't promote them into roles that didn't exist. Advancement felt outside of his control, but actually it wasn't, because there were things that he could do to get them ready for advancement when opportunities presented. He could create networking opportunities with senior leaders. He could get them exposure to leaders in other parts of the business. He could put them in project leadership positions, even when people leadership positions weren't open, so that when opportunities eventually appeared, his team members would be more ready than others. This is advancement, if not promotion. Another team was drowning in requests from other departments, and they felt helpless to say no. They couldn't reduce the volume of requests. That was outside of their control. But they could change what intake looked like. They created a simple intake form, and they established some basic standards around timelines and turnarounds. Over time, the requests kept coming in, but now with a stronger way of triaging and organizing, the team stopped feeling like they were totally drowning. If you're a senior leader, your job has changed. You've probably been operating under the belief that fixing the work experience is your job, that engagement and culture and inefficiency are yours to solve. And this belief may be crushing you, and it may be keeping your team stuck. Your job has changed. You can't be the source of all solutions because you don't have all the knowledge. The people closest to the work do. They see what's broken and they see where there are opportunities. And they see what might work. Your job isn't to solve it for them. It's to create the conditions where they can solve it themselves. So here's what that means. First, just name what you're hearing. Be specific. I'm hearing that handoffs between teams create confusion, or people feel unclear on priorities. Don't minimize it, just name it. Second, be clear about what is actually non-negotiable. Because most leaders think it's everything, but it's not. So get specific about what are the real constraints and why they exist. And then third, just invite experiments. Say it clearly. I can't solve this from where I sit. You're closer to the work. So what's one small thing we could try this week? And then just get out of the way. You're distributing the power to solve to the people who can actually see it. And when you do, something shifts. People stop waiting for you to have all the answers. They start trying things. They start feeling accountable, and problems get solved faster. Also, you stop drowning. The impossible weight lifts. You focus on what you can do. Small acts of ownership create permission for others to act. One team redesigning their work gives the next team ideas. One manager protecting their people shows others what's possible. One leader inviting experimentation shows what happens when you stop hoarding control. Change doesn't always need to start at the top. It just needs to start. And once it does, it compounds. When leaders stop trying to solve everything and instead create conditions for others to solve problems, they stop burning out. Their teams stop waiting. Work improves because the people closest to it are shaping it. When everyone stops outsourcing their agency to leadership, the daily experience shifts. Not because of a program, but because people are actively improving what they can see instead of passively enduring it. The permission you're waiting for isn't coming. And that's actually good news, because it means you can start right now. So what's one thing you could try this week? Something small, in your control. I'd love to hear what you choose. Shoot me a note at rachel@leadabovenoise.com and tell me what you're experimenting with. You can follow Modern Mentor on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Find and follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks so much for listening and have a successful week. Modern Mentor is a quick and dirty tips podcast. Thanks to the QDT team, audio engineer Dan Firabend, director of podcasts Holly Hutchings, ad operations specialist Morgan Christensen, marketing manager Rebecca Sebastian, and our marketing contractor Nat Hoops.